Well, hello, my bits, my little bits of sunshine, that is. My name is Veronica. Myself and my other half are with Chasing Sunshine. We come to you from Northern California, and we are going to talk about DIY clay-based paint. It is the best paint for reactivating with water, for highly pigmented, for thick, luscious paint. If you're interested in watching how a little bit of paint can transform home decor, easy breezy beautiful, in a couple of steps, then stay tuned. Let's jump right into the project. Here we go. All right, guys, so this is just a simple metal container of sorts. And I use it for kitchen utensils, basically. So this is in the kitchen. It has like the wooden spoons and such in it. And it actually is not too bad as is. Like, you know, it's a little dated, a little grungy, a little dark. I really do like this, this little container here, but I feel like I want to brighten it up and give it new life. So, like I said, we're going to be using this DIY clay-based paint. If you've never used it, I highly recommend doing so. It is only made with 9 ingredients, no VOCs. You can paint indoors. It's non-toxic. It is good for the environment, and it is good for me. I absolutely adore this paint. This specific color is called Tarnished Pearl. It's kind of like a, I want to say a cool white. It feels like it may have some blue undertones in it, but it is a gorgeous white color. Whenever you paint with this clay-based paint, like I said, you guys, it has like tons of pigment, and it is really easy to spread on your surface with a little bit of water. Straight tap water, that's all you need, guys. So that's one of the things that I always do is I start off by spraying my subject, whatever it might be, and this has been cleaned previously, and we're just going to start putting the paint on with this Klingon S30. If you've never used these brushes, they are also amazing. So I always like to get my bristles kind of wet, just a little baby bit. Then I'm a dipper. Don't hate me because I'm a dipper. I'm a dipper. And what that means is I basically go straight into the can like this. We recommend that you actually pour your paint out into a separate container, just a little big Dixie cup or whatever you have on hand, so that you don't contaminate your paint, you guys, because it's easy to, you know, have like some sort of yuckies on your brushes, and then you're dipping it into your paint, and it's just no bueno. However, I go through my paint so fast that it doesn't ever have time to go yucky. This is a metal surface, so one of the glorious things about this paint is that you can paint right on metal, plastic, glass. Most surfaces accept this paint really well. It is very easy to clean off your paws and your brushes. You just use a little bit of water, a little bit of dish soap, and you're good to go. Let me know in the comments below if you've ever used the DIY clay-based paint, because I'm kind of interested in knowing what your preferred paint is. And so there are different paints out there. There's straight clay paint. There's clay. This is actually a clay paint as well as a chalk paint, chalky-based paint. And so, you know, it has both the components within it. There's paint out there that's all-in-one. This is not an all-in-one. This actually needs to be sealed with either wax or a top coat of your choice. The DIY brand does have several different options for you guys. Liquid Patina is one of my favorite top coats. It's kind of more of a dulled down finish, so it's not 100% matte, but it is more matte than not, if that makes sense. We also have a Big Top, which is it's got a little more sheen to it, and that also is a top coat. The thing that I love about the Liquid Patina, you guys, is that you can use it for more than just a top coat. It can be used for a top coat sealer. It could be used for a decoupage medium. it could be used for several things. And for that reason, so you see how it's like dragging a little more, which is totally fine if you want to do sort of a dry brush or just paint like that. I prefer to spray my surface again with just regular old tap water, and then it just goes on much easier. You guys can kind of tell how this first coat, how I'm painting it super thin. And you could go over this like with a thicker coat for sure, definitely, that's an option. I just like that first layer to be thin, and I like it to be thin so that it then creates that a great adhesion to the surface, whatever it might be. And then you come back in with your second coat and you're typically good to go. Like a, you know, coat and a half, 2 coats, good to go. That's not to say that it won't cover in one coat. It just depends on how heavy-handed you are with your brush and how you like to apply the paint. And that's one super cool thing about just painting things and upcycling things, is that to each their own. We all have a different strategy. We all have different effects that we're looking for. And so with that said, you guys, you know, I'm telling you how I do things. That does not mean they're right, for sure. That does not mean they're wrong. That just means that's how I have learned to do them, or morphed into doing it that way. So I too learned how to chalky paint furniture and use this clay paint right here on YouTube, you guys. YouTube is kind of an amazing platform for that reason. And so once you learn the process, you take your pointers from your peeps and then you just kind of morph them into what works for you. Yeah, you do. Okay. So now that that first layer is on, I am also going to kind of come down inside within this just a little bit, so that, you know, when it's sitting in the kitchen on the counter, you don't see this dark color here. But I'm not going to go all the way down. Like, there's no need to go all the way down, because I'm never going to be like looking down into this hole. You know what I mean? And other people shouldn't really be that up close and personal with your utensil bucket. If they are, then they are. Ain't no thing but a jelly bean. If you guys haven't watched my other videos, you just go ahead and check out the old playlist and or just videos in our YouTube channel here. And there's lots and lots of content. And we are always improving, trying to improve, and we're always growing. So with that said, we're looking to grow our channel to 5,000 followers by the end of this year is my goal. And so if you could help by sharing this video out with your peeps, that would be super appreciated, guys. Really, really. And we also have a Facebook channel called Chasing Sunshine by Veronica, so hop on over there. And you know, we actually end up going live over there more often, because edited videos are a little bit harder, a little bit more time consuming to do than live videos. And so as I understand, YouTube doesn't really prefer live videos. This is why I'm doing edited videos over here on YouTube primarily. So this is a segment that we like to call lunchtime paint time lunchtime. No, lunchtime paint time with V. And so what I've decided to do is just go live. Well, I'm not going live. When I say that, what I mean is I am filming a video and I'm not editing it. It's as if I am live. That way there's no stress, because there's, you know, with like YouTube videos, there is an element of stress for me, because one moment, let me find a paper towel. Whoops. Yeah, there's an element of stress for me, because it just takes time. It takes time to then edit the videos, upload the videos, this and that. And so this way, I've decided if I just pretend I'm live, paint, do my projects, and then upload it, we're good to go. So you will find some, you know, whatever. It's not going to be as clean as an edited video. It's just going to be, it is what it is. So you come back and you can see how it's kind of bleeding through just a little bit. Boy, I did not anticipate bleed through on this little thing. However, we do have a component. Maybe that's just a thin coat. Let's go ahead and dry this and see what we have after it's dry. Okay, guys, with that said, I feel like we can go ahead and put the second layer on. Let's see what happens. Let's see if that's actually bleed through or if that's just the color of the tin. Because it was a yellow color, but I don't know if it's causing that to bleed through, or let's just see what happens. So if you guys don't know what bleed through is, it's essentially whatever is on the surface prior, whether it be a ink, a paint that bleeds, tannins in your wood, like an old antique piece of furniture, lots and lots of like waxing a piece of furniture over time, whatever that's on the surface has potential to then bleed through onto your new paint job. And so if that's the case, you know what I'm going to do? Actually, I'm trying to be smooth. Then you have to prime it. So this paint it does not have a primer built in it. It does not have a top coat built in it. It's not an all-in-one. And so then you would then have to come back and prime this with the Salvation Solutions, which is our primer. Now you typically don't have to prime just a standard surface. And that's one cool thing about this clay chalk paint is that it just goes on with the ease of, like, you know, washing your project down and starting to paint. You don't have to deal with priming and sanding and all that. And that's the glory of chalky clay-based paints. However, sometimes, like I said, these tannins or ink spots or whatever it is will definitely bleed through into your project. And in that case, you would use our Salvation Solutions. You can see how that just really covers. That second coat is just amazing. It doesn't take much. So this is just going to be, I feel like I'm just going to do a standard white, this white color, and distress back just a little bit. And so with that said, like, you don't have to get into all the nooks and crannies. And I have to continually remind myself that because I want to just keep painting it and keep painting it so it's like 100% coverage. But I'm going to come back and distress this, so why waste the paint, guys? Like, especially in the little feet area down there, you can see how there's little nooks and crannies of that dark black color. Yeah, that's good. Just leave it be. Let it be. Get any sort of hairs or bumps or lumps in your project out before it dries if you have the ability to, like I just did. Do when I come in and get those nooks and crannies. So paint this handle, turn it around. And you guys can see how I'm getting paint like all over my paws here. It ain't no big thing. You just wash your hands. No big dealio. No big dealio, but I don't want that line there. Okay, okay. Okay, okay, okay. Here we are at the feet again, you guys, so just be mindful of not having to put that 100% coverage if you're going to come back and then distress. Okay, that looks pretty groovy. One more side. So if it gets sticky or draggy or that had already had time to set up and I came back in to paint a little more just to kind of smooth this out. All you have to do if it starts dragging, guys, is add some water to it. That's what we mean when we say it's water activated. Like you can reactivate the paint by just adding a little bit of water. That's all that means. Come in with our second coat in here. You guys could see how we've literally been on here for like 16 minutes. So in 15 to 20 minutes, you can have a project completely done. That's, of course, if you don't count the drying time. Now I'm drying it with a hair dryer. And so that's why we're able to kind of move through this process faster. So just in a little minute, this can be all done and ready to use. So if you're using something like this in a kitchen like I am going to, I recommend sealing it. Just put some wax on there, seal that up, and then because you are going to be probably washing this from time to time, or grease or water might be splashing on it depending on what the location is in your kitchen. And so with that in mind, you could seal this. But if it was just going to house flowers, some floral, or just, anything else that's just kind of sitting around your house as decor, you don't have to seal it to actually protect this paint, because in 30-ish days, that's the kind of recommended time frame in which we say that it takes to actually seal, or not seal, but cure. It will cure out, and it is clay, so it will get hard just like regular clay would, and it will be pretty strong. So just keep that in mind as well. It's just like, again, it's to each their own, but if it's if you're selling it, you might want to seal it, but you don't have to. Okay. So that's that. I feel like that is low enough. I feel like those are all covered just enough. And then we're going to hit it with that heat gun. Always want to close your product up so that it doesn't dry out. Okay. Okay guys, so it's not dry, but it's definitely dry enough. I'm going to hit the inside of these legs just so that if anyone sees them at any angle, then it appears that they have been taken care of. Well, not appears, they will have been taken care of now. Yeah, so keep that in mind whenever you're painting surfaces, you guys, that, it's always best to start upside down with your piece That way you can get all the nooks and crannies. That's kind of like a pro tip right there, for something like this, and especially since it's for myself, I really don't mind. So I'm just going to take some standard towels, get them wet, very, very wet, and then we're going to start distressing. Okay, so it's definitely not dry by any means, but we're going to just try and pull some of this paint then off. I don't want to pull a lot. You just want to hit the areas in which are raised like this, or you also could just spray the water directly to the surface if you would like to do that. Or areas in which, you know, you feel like they will have like worn over time. The overall objective is to kind of get it as natural looking of a distress as you can. You don't want it to look like fake. Like, so these areas are higher than others, so you would assume that they might hit something while being moved or used, and so then they would distress back, right? And it just brings kind of an interesting element to your overall piece, I think. So you definitely want to go in on the corners and get them nice and distressed. And you also could use sandpaper. But one of the cool things about this paint is that you can reactivate it with water and then distress it like we're doing at the moment. And you don't have to go outside. If you're like, you know, got little ones that you're tending to, you don't have to like leave them unattended. They could just be right here in the same room with you. People that have a hard time in dusty areas, you won't have to worry about that element. So it's just overall kind of sweet in the way that you can do this with a little bit of water and a paper towel. And you can already see how it's bringing this piece to life, right? To life. And so I'm just going back on all these corners and edges and hitting them. Hitting them, hitting them, hitting them. And, you know, I don't want to overdo it. I just want to do it a bit until you like it, essentially. Whatever you like. Heavy distress, light distress, whatever you like is what you do. It's your project. Okay. And then you can see the difference. So this is a distressed look. You can see how it's distressed there, guys. And then you come to this side where it's not distressed. It's a little flatter, just a little like blah. You put a little bit of water on there and distress it back. Bam, chicky wow. Got some interest in that piece. And I like it a lot. And so always be mindful of your paper towel or your rag or whatever you're using and kind of move it around a bit, because you don't want to just continue to wipe that paint back on, right? You want it to be a crisp distress, meaning that whatever color's underneath, you want that color to be more true than not, and you don't want it to be kind of like a cloudy paint distress. You know what I mean? You get it? Because as you're pulling the paint off, you don't want to then just apply that same color back down, basically, is what I'm trying to say. In a nutshell. Oh, that's nice and distressed. So easy. Easy breezy, chicken easy. Yes. There you go, girl. Okay, one last side and we're done. Little paint time, lunchtime project going on. I'm going to go ahead and change out my paper towel. Whenever you can find a textured piece like this, you guys, I highly recommend just pick that girl up, because it's so easy to then transform them into something real pretty. Real easy. Top. Get this. I want to distress this whole thing up. Any sort of like, well, this whole thing is made out of metal, but any sort of like metal components are really fun to distress back. Gonna pull that off a little bit. Okay, I don't think I got this handle up here very good. Come back, distress a little bit of that. pull this off. So now you can see what I was saying about, like, it's not critical that on especially these elements down here that you just get like 100% coverage, because you're just coming back and you're pulling the paint off and you're making it look weathered, used, stressed, old. You can use your fingernail and get it in there a little bit if it's already starting to cure up. And so this is what I was talking about moving your rag around a lot, because that has been distressed, right? But see how this is like crisper and brighter, that undertone is coming out. This has a little bit of paint on it. So all you're gonna do is just, you know, get your paper towel wet, come back over on a clean spot of your paper towel, and then bam. Corners are always nice to distress too. Oh, so that, I didn't mean to do that. So I pulled off a big chunk right here, and it's kind of an area in which you wouldn't really think would actually be distressed. Like, it's just kind of random, right? And so what I'm going to do now is come back with a little bit of paint, cover that up. But you can see on this spot how it just crisped that up when I moved my paper towel and came back. So I'm just going to cover this distress up, get a little more paint, and it's going to take 2 coats to then get that back to full coverage. And that's okay. So I will do that. But this is our overall finished look, guys. I hope that you have had a fun day today watching, and hopefully you learned something. If you did, let me know what it is that you learned down in the comments below. And this is the after. All right, guys, that was a quick 28-minute lunch. No big deal. And now we have a beautiful piece of decor. So, as always, I want you all to chase that sunshine, whatever that means for you, and have a fabulous weekend. Bye, guys. Take care.